Right on, man. Well, I'm Craig Rieger. I'm co-founder of RCC, Rieger Coaching Consulting. Absolutely thrilled to have one of our clients that's just crushing it in the real estate industry. He's based out of Minnesota, Twin Cities. Is that correct, Parker?
Yep, it is.
Yeah, man. You and your team closed $350 million last year. Incredibly impressive. What's your average sales price?
This year it's right around 380, 382.
Yeah. So when I see 350 million, you're not in Miami, Manhattan, Palo Alto, California. Like that's a lot of units, like 900,000 units closed last year. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Awesome.
I know. I get jealous of our friends out in California that, but I've learned it's a much different way of doing business and running a company. So both have their challenges too.
100%. We lived in San Francisco when we were in the KW model for a couple of years. My whole family relocated there, and it was just extraordinary. Like 3, 5, and $25 million sales, and agents would close 4 homes and do 100 million. And it's a very successful model. But mine has been more similar to you, based on customer service. Not saying they don't do it there; they certainly do. But units and doing a great job and getting my volume through a lot of sales and great customer service. Yeah. One of the things I'm most excited about sharing with our audience today is you've only been in the industry, what, 6 years?
Yeah. So, I got licensed March 22nd, 2016. It was my 30th birthday. So I won't forget that one. Yeah, 6.5, 7 years or so.
Right on. And in that time, 350 million last year alone, like 900 units closed, I think top 10, maybe top 7 in EXP International. Extraordinary results. So how did it start, right? Did you immediately say, hey, I'm going to grow a team of 100 agents and shoot for 1,000 units? Or is that something was it a clear goal you had on day one? Or is that something after your second or third year, you started building out the organization?
Yeah. So I had the privilege of growing up the son of a realtor. Actually, I should say, depending on how you look at it, right? The privilege, but I had the roadmap. I mean, I knew what it took to be a successful business person and real estate agent from 5 years old forward, right? I mean, there's not a lot of people in this industry that can say that they legit had somebody mentor them the whole way growing up. I never thought I would end up in the business, to be honest, but I joined him in 2016, and my dad's name is Steve, and he was running his company, solo agent, perennial $20 million guy. And we were at Coldwell Banker back then. So I joined him, got a really, really fast start. He handed me basically like a stack of papers like this and was like, hey, call these leads. And I sold 6 homes from those leads. And it turned out that they were old Zillow leads. And wow. So the light bulb moment kind of went off. But I always knew I wanted to build a company. I didn't want to be a real estate agent day in, day out. I knew that I wanted to build an organization, and I wanted to be able to impact more people. So, back to the way you introduced me, the San Francisco agents are hitting home runs in our minds. We're just over here, hitting singles and bunting the ball down the line, right? I love the model that we're in because it runs very consistently with my lifestyle and the way that I view life, which is consistency day in, day out, right? It's not do one big thing and get a bunch of results. It's doing something every single day that's going to lead forward to progress, to growth, to improvement.
It's awesome. Well, in the coaching space, we certainly see, everybody's consistent one way or another, but in business and success, and certainly in our industry, which you and I, we're experts at, we just are. It's consistency is typically the reason why people achieve results like you, your agents, and your company are consistently hitting, or it's a lack of consistency why people don't. Another metric in it is scaling, which you've done, right? 6 years. How many agents are you at right now?
We have 77.
That's a lot. Yeah. So 900 closings, 350 million, and you scale it up. It's from my experience, it's physically impossible to do that without a process and a system. So talk just a little bit about like, what's the day in, and I'm sure it's evolved over the last 6.5, 7 years, but day in, day out, like to scale to that level, systems and process combined with that consistency. What do you guys do? How do you focus on that? Do you have people that lead that for you? I'm super curious.
Right. Yeah. So currently we're onboarding 9 agents a month. We have consistently since Thanksgiving time. So yeah, 6 months or so, we're averaging 9 agents incoming to the company per month. We're losing one or two based on either performance or the fact that we asked them to no longer be a part of our organization. I knew 2 years ago, I mean, you could see the writing on the wall that there was going to be a market shift and there was something that was going to change. And if you were in a team model, not saying that I predicted the future at all, I just knew that we needed to get very clear on the way that we wanted to grow. And that was putting an emphasis on recruiting. I mean, you have to be always looking for great people to join your company and your organization for times like this, because, you know, being staffed up and being large is giving us a lot of advantages. So luckily, you know, actually, let me go back to kind of the start here. I also knew that you can't just start recruiting people and expect your company to be great. You'll have things fall through the cracks and you will have no culture whatsoever. So what you need to do is you need to focus on building the base of the company first. What are the systems and processes looking like? What are the most important operators and leaders in your organization doing, and what are they focused on? Because once you build that base, now you can build up, right? And it's just like in housing. It's like if you have a bad builder who builds a bad house, you can feel it when you're in that house, right? Versus a house that has some really strong bones that was built well. You can feel that too. And so, you know, I certainly feel like when you come into our company, you can feel like that base is very, very solid because we have a lot of leaders at our company taking ownership of their roles, being empowered to do their role. And then together, we're all growing together.
That's awesome. And you're right. I love the house analogy. Thank you. Appropriate for what we do for a living.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I have never met outside of virtually. We've had a half dozen plus Zooms conversations. I can feel it. Like I can feel that culture. I can feel that solid foundation. I can feel the systems, the process, the consistency. Having a chance to get to know some of your agents through the coaching space, but it's very true. So back to that 9 agents a month year to date, like losing one or two, and that makes sense. I was at Inman in January, and a very consistent topic, whether it was at the happy hour, the dinner, or even folks from stage, was don't be surprised if you wake up on 12/31 and 75% of the organization you started the year with has changed over. And that may be because of leadership in some circumstances, but more times than not, it might just be the folks that were successful in what I call the crazy COVID market maybe aren't doing the right things now. But regardless, you're bringing in 9 a month. So I'm positive our audience wants to know, like, what systems in place is attracting them, or how are you finding them? What's your interview, onboarding, like anything you want to share?
You have to first define who the avatar of the person is, who is going to fit your organization, and who are you really looking for. I feel like a lot of teams that we compete with are just bringing in warm bodies, people that just want a new environment. But when you bring in new people, that doesn't mean they're going to be productive. You have to find the right people that are going to be serious about the business, that are willing to do the actions, right, and the work that we need to do right now to be successful. And we're very upfront about that, from literally the first interview to the way that we onboard them. I mean, we've learned from our mistakes, clearly, but you know, setting that expectation, forecasting the expectation of this is what we're looking for on our team, this is what we're going to deliver to you, and this is what you're going to deliver back to us in the form of your daily activities. You know, that if you can get clear on that, you're going to notice that the people coming in are way more committed, they're stronger, and you're not going to have those one-on-one meetings about like, hey, I'm not busy, like, can you help me? They already know.
Do you bring part-time agents in, or is it all full-time?
The only time we hire, well, we don't hire part-time agents, but the only way that we'll carry a part-time agent is if they have some kind of a life event happen.
Yeah.
And I think that you have to be situational. You have to understand it's a people business and things happen. People get hurt. People have babies. They're out for, 6 months. They have parents that die. All sorts, life happens, right? So you really have to be aware of that. And the stronger you can support them through that. Like, one of my favorite things is seeing somebody go part-time and they come back off the bench and they go full-time and they crush it.
Absolutely. Right? But in your hiring model, I'm sure you get candidates right? Like, they're in your organization, these life events happen, you support them through it, and they come back off the bench, you help them crush it again. But your hiring model, you've got a discipline of maybe even a really talented person, and he or she doesn't have reserves, can't leave their job. And we've all heard this 100 times, and that's not somebody that fits your avatar. Is that what I'm hearing?
Absolutely. You need to be asking, like, literally show me your bank account. Like, I want you to show me that you can make it 6 months. And if you can't, I don't want to be the person that lets you down, because at the end of the day, you have a family, you might have people that rely on you. Even if you're single, like, you're letting yourself down if you don't do this the right way. And I don't want to be that person that has to tell them you're 2 months away from not being able to make your house payment. So let's get all of that out of the way early, right? And make sure that the people coming in are the right fit. And we have a full-time recruiter. So we've got to, and she's absolutely fantastic. And she and I are doing a webinar tonight. You can find that on my Facebook page. But I think we got to about 50 agents before we brought her in. And she was really the gasoline on the fire. I mean, she's excellent at her job. And so we have defined the value proposition very, very clearly. Everybody on leadership can tell you the type of person we're looking for. They can tell you what we do really well. So that when we're sitting down with somebody, they can communicate that to the person and articulate it the right way.
It's really cool. I find when teams are winning, there's exceptions, right? I could get hate mail on this on social media. That's fine. I'm going for group masses, coaching tens of thousands of people, and now interviewing Parker, who's crushing it. Is when you don't allow, when you're that strict on who your person is, what they look like, what value you're going to give them, that's when you'll choose to not go part-time or allow that in your company. And what I often find, Parker, it's because how much you and your leaders are going to invest into them to ensure their success. And I've found, and it sounds maybe similar, maybe different with you, is when you invest that much time and energy into the success of others and they don't have the time to be able to show up, more times than not, it's not going to work out. So I love that you hold that line. And I hope that's something that, future team owners or folks right now struggling to grow the right organization. It's when you hire the part-time, it's often because, similar to say to your competition, you're putting them on the bench, you're putting them into your team, and you're hoping they're successful. When you do what you guys do to help them grow, it's a line in the sand. So I'm super impressed. Let's switch gears to where you and I first met on conversion. So you shared with me in a previous conversation, like, that's kind of how you started in real estate. You showed up, you were working with your dad, he gave you some old leads that nobody else converted. And that was probably the first foundational pillar of growing this company. Walk us through that.
Sure. Yeah. And my dad deserves way more credit than what I was able to give him in just that short answer. But essentially, I view him as he's the bumpers on the bowling lane, and I was the ball that just got chucked down the alley, and I'm bouncing like this, right? So huge credit to him, and he's a big reason for my success and for our team's success together. But so I get into real estate. I was $82,000 in debt. I had an old business partner who I didn't dissolve it the right way, and he didn't pay taxes for 2 years, and they came after me because I was the only one with a house. Wow. And I had to sell. I had no other options, right? I knew I could do it. I knew I was able to work hard enough to do it. And when I got those leads, it started to click. I was talking to real people who had housing needs. They were names and numbers and emails on a sheet of paper, but they had stories, and they had, they had dreams of ownership. They had dreams of selling and moving and doing all of this. And I knew that if I talked to enough people, that I was going to run into enough people that I could help, that would eventually, let me get out of debt and then get to a place where I could start building in my life. And I was one of those crazy agents that you hear about that sold 100 homes in his first year, because I did. And I mean, worked my ass off. I mean, I slept under the conference room table one night. I mean, it was like, go, 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 go. It's like every day I was writing a contract, but that starts with having people to talk to, knowing where to find the people to talk to, lead generation, right? And then really just going deep into people and understanding, why are they clicking this button, or why are they going to that open house, or why didn't their home sell with that agent? Like, what happened, right? And then crafting your approach around that to how you can help them.
It's brilliant. So one of those sources you mentioned, online leads. So is that a portion of your business early on, is getting those leads, whether it was Zillow or Google pay-per-click or a combination of all the above?
100%. Internet lead generation has been the backbone of our company, because it quite honestly had to be, to get to where we're at in 6 years. But my previous business was a landscaping company. I used to go door to door with a lawnmower and knock on people's doors, and I would pick up contracts, and then I would be able to service them, and then I'd be able to get paid, and then I'd be able to get a review. And I built that on Angie's List, believe it or not. It was an old service. Some people watching this probably don't even remember Angie's List, but It was a fantastic program that you'd put $100 into, and they would give you people that needed service related contractors. And I get into real estate and I was like, that just makes sense to me. I just understand the fact that somebody is unrepresented. They need help. They're literally asking for help. Yet there's so many people out there screwing it up or not giving them the time of the day or not asking the right questions. And so I figured I could put $1,000 into Zillow at the time and get $10,000 back. And I did that for quarters on quarters, right? Months on months. And then I started investing in pay-per-click and Facebook leads, which nowadays Facebook leads aren't great, but back then, super low cost, high ROI. And we just kept scaling. So I had this spreadsheet where I would always keep myself 6 months in advance. So I would collect all my commissions, I would stack up my 6-month reserve, and then I would go and reinvest into different zip codes and different products that would produce leads for the company. And it's a very simple spreadsheet. How much did you spend? How much did you make? How much do you need? Right? Like,
Yeah.
literally 3 categories. And as we scaled, the system and process had to evolve with it and had to morph with it, because now you're cutting your profits in half, typically when another agent is selling the home. And when you have 80 agents like us, it's like, I mean, that's a full blown system that is dialed, right? So from solo agent to where we're at today, I've ran pretty much every system there is.
Fantastic. And on those systems, right, there's a system of converting these online leads. Frankly, it's different than meeting somebody at open house. It's different than a referral. It's different than a past client. What is your playbook, if you're comfortable sharing, on online lead conversion versus traditional real estate? Because that is a big piece of where we see people fail. Is, in my opinion, it's similar to Uber, Amazon. Like, I push a button, there's a package on my doorstep the next day, or I push a button and Uber shows up in 4 to 11 minutes if all goes well and takes me to my destination. And it's a very different system working. These people that pushed a button saying, tell me more about this home or show me this home. And I don't think as an industry, we've absorbed that. Your team certainly has. So walk us through how that works for you guys.
For sure. And it's important to mention that this has evolved since I even got into real estate. In 2016, it was about how quickly can you answer your phone? And the lead distributors that you would pay would tell you that you need to answer the phone within a minute.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, that's pretty fast. How am I going to do that? And the whole approach is around that. I'd always cut it in half, right? If somebody else is answering in a minute and I can answer in 30 seconds, that means I'm going to beat everyone else to the punch. So I started off with autoresponders and programs like Agent Legend and Call Action early that would leverage myself and allow me to answer and communicate with more leads. But that evolved to like 2018, 19, where, like you just said, the Amazon experience really started. And now the whole approach, instead of speed to answering, it's speed to face. How quickly can we get in front of that person? And how quickly can we go, eyeball to eyeball to form that rapport? Because if we do our job the right way, we should be able to retain that client for life if we meet them quick enough.
And don't you think that's where we screw it up, right? Because we get this lead, you just said it, and that's the first time I've heard anybody say it in those words. It's no longer speed to lead, it's speed to face. But what's happening as an industry, and why people, like, I get an email every day, sometimes a dozen, like, these leads suck or this lead source sucks. And it's not that they suck, they don't realize it's speed to getting face to face. And so what's happening is, instead of getting face to face, they're qualifying. Like, hey, Parker, how long you been looking? Are you pre-approved? Are you working with another agent? Blah, blah, right? And that is what I call really good real estate. Like, most of us have been doing this for a period of time through different markets. Like, it's that qualification, it's a system. It's a reason that we continue to be successful. But it's also the reason that we struggle or stumble to convert these leads. So, in that face-to-face world, are you okay if you have a team member that gets a lead and meets with them tomorrow at 1 and hasn't walked them through this tremendous pre-approval process?
Yeah, of course. Yes, of course.
I mean, sure. You say that, but your competitors aren't. And that's why that's one of the reasons you're kicking their ass.
Well, yeah. I mean, also keep in mind that I got to see somebody that was licensed in 1978 operate from a very young level. Like, I remember my dad used to flip the MLS book open. He'd sit at the table and he'd literally call the white pages at nighttime when we're watching TV. that's evolved to where we're at today. You have to be able to adapt and change like this. And if you're not willing to change, you're going to get beat by the person that's going to be willing to change. So to me, it's just like, I'm always trying to figure out what is that next step? What is the next consumer habit? How can we change our company? And that might drive some people crazy, but the reality is that the bigger you get, the harder it is to move the ship, right? The Titanic is a lot harder to move than it is to move a speedboat. And you got to be willing to do it so fast because you're going to need that extra time to do it.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like agents are so worried, like, how would I possibly spend my Tuesday afternoon and go show a house to somebody that's not pre-approved? Yeah, it is speed to face. The client pushed that button, like Amazon, like Uber. They want to see the house. And on my personal team, it's, hey, if I can get one of my agents, regardless if they're the number one agent in my company or they were licensed 3 weeks ago, if I can get them meeting 1 to 2, about 1.5 new clients a day face to face that they've never met before, statistically, just off of that lead source, they're going to open 5 to 6 escrows a month, just off of that lead source. So it's like, and how long does it really take to go and meet somebody in the service area you work, show a house for 15 to 20 minutes, maybe have some follow-up hour? It's an hour and a half of your day. So you're willing to commit an hour to 2 hours of your day, 4 or 5 days a week for the ability from one lead source to close 5 or 6 properties. Like, to you and I, it seems so basic. And it's something I really hope our industry catches up on, because at the end of the day, it's not about what we want. That's what the consumer wants right now in April 25th of 2023, period.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't know where our industry started to get this, like, this arrogance from, of like, oh no, I'm not going to go meet that person. Oh no, that's not worth my time. Like, the more people you meet, the more homes you sell. It's super simple. And so to say like, it's not worth my time because they haven't met with a bank, you're literally just giving away a client for free.
Yeah.
When you're basically saying my time is worth more than their homeowner journey or their needs or their whatever it is. And it could be $1 million lead. Like, do you know how many leads I've taken from $80,000 land leads that have turned into $1.5 million new construction?
Of course.
Like, you know, they just need to be educated on what this plot of land allows, right? And hey, this is, your goal isn't going to be possible on this piece of land, but let me go find you one that is, that is in the location that you're looking for. But yeah, I think too many people in this industry now are just closed off to just going to meet somebody because LP Mama, right? Like,
yeah,
LP Mama's dead. Like, and if you don't know what it is, good, because you shouldn't.
Totally. Yeah, it's brilliant. It was 10 years ago, and it's maybe 12 years ago, and it's dead. Well, we know consumers are 300% more likely to conduct business. And last time I checked, conducting business means I hand them keys and you and I get a paycheck. 300% more likely to conduct business with us if we meet them face to face. Like, that is the name of the game right now. All right. Amazing. Thank you on conversion. That's awesome. Switching gears, kind of hit on this already in the process and empowering your leaders, the culture. So you built a really strong culture. You have to bring in 9 agents a month, and in a down market, what's your market down? Mine's like 25 to 40% on any given week. You're probably pretty close.
Yeah, we are right on.
Yeah. So if you're losing 1 to 2 a month, either because they didn't make it or maybe culturally they weren't a fit, that's how you opened up today when I asked about your agents. It means you got a really strong culture for the 7 that are staying or the 8 that are staying. So how do you support that? How do you build that up? Who are your culture keepers? Like, that was part of that foundation you talked about in the new construction. What advice would you give to somebody that maybe right now their culture is struggling and they'd like to be in a different place next year?
I mean, I'm only saying this because I like you and I'm on Zoom, but I think culture is bullshit. Like, obviously it means something, but there's so many companies that define it, or they write it on the wall, or they write it on a piece of paper and they're like, this is our culture. Like, culture to me is, it's more like, don't say it, be it, right? Show up. Like, for us, you got to have call these core values, right? I also don't technically believe in core values, which isn't good, but amazing energy, unwavering integrity, growth minded, living in abundance, people that come from contribution. Okay. So those are the 5 things that are really important to me. And we're very open about growth minded, living in abundance. Like, I have no problem standing up and saying, I want to be a multimillionaire, right? It's not a bad thing. And I want people around me to be a multimillionaire. So they know that good people coming to the company helps them because the company grows and the company becomes more competitive and it levels up everybody's game, which from my level allows me to hire more people and do more, introduce more sources of leads and systems and processes and build new offices. Like we're building a 10,000 square foot office right now. Like that is a good thing. So if you can show your team how your goals are going to help them, that's how you get everybody on board. And the ones that aren't, they can high five the person coming in the door on the way out, honestly.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. We're an industry that talks a lot about culture. And frankly, it's living it. It's who are we? How do we show up? What do we do? What do we expect of others? How do we assist them in getting there? Yeah, man.
At the end of the day, Craig, like the thing about me is that I'm not a polished businessman, right? I mean, I read a ton of books. I listen. I've always had a coach. Like this industry is not hard to scale and grow and do well in. You just need to watch the right people. You need to get into the right environments, the right groups, have the right advisors. I mean, it's out there for everybody, and it's on the internet, and it's on webinars like this, and it's in coaching groups. You can copy everything that's out there. You can put your own twist on it, right? So I don't know. At the end of the day, I'm a kid from Minnesota that grew up in a hockey locker room that, happened to be the team captain of every team I played on. And my stance on this is like, if somebody doesn't show up to practice, we're not going to worry about that. It's not going to impact our practice, our communication, our actions. We're going to focus on the people that are there today, and we're going to continue to look for great players.
It's awesome. I love it. What have I not asked you that I should have, Parker? How do you want to wrap up today? Like what are you really passionate about? What do you want the audience to hear that we haven't touched on already?
We of course have to talk about profitability and growing responsibly, right? You can't just grow without making money. Like I see it too often, and it's not going to help you at all. Like at some point you're going to run off a cliff, right? And these people that grow really, really fast, like us, you will have holes in your system, in the matrix, right? So focus on that base, focus on the systems of every department. What does your listing department look like? Is it checklisted out? Is it on a piece of paper? What does your TC department look like? What does marketing look like? What do all of those things look like? So that if somebody walks out of your company, can you give that to the next person and still retain that base? I don't know. I think I just jumped around a little bit, but I'm most passionate about business and growing a company and helping influence people through the things that we have control over.
Well, you said a few minutes ago, you intend to be a multimillionaire, and it's okay to say that. It's okay to share that in front of your team. And it's also okay to share that, hey, and you're part of this journey. I want to help you get there. And guess what? If you're not running a profitable business, none of us are going to get there. I had a call. So we're a coaching company. I'm going to show a slide on that in a minute. Like I literally sold multi-million-dollar franchises that I owned. I put all of my chips into this coaching company because I think we've got the greatest industry on the planet. But it's so often when you're successful, you have a lot of sacrifices along the way. And then what happens, and you've seen this, you had a great mentor and continue to with your father and the coaches and the mentors and the circles you've been in. But as people become successful, they start transitioning from great agent to business owner. And that's a tough transition. That's why we started the coaching company. So I was on a call with my coaches today, Parker, and they were sharing about a really mega agent, probably somebody you would know. And he or she was really complaining about being in pain. And it's like, well, their splits are 70-30. 70 to their agents. And it's like, well, how do you have admin and 10,000 square foot buildings and marketing and recruiters and leads and all the things it takes to run a company that, from my experience, typically takes more than 30% off the top each month. So super cool that you want to give that to your agents to 70%. And they're like, well, I can't lose them because if I do, they're selling so many homes. I'm like, well, shit, every time they sell a home, I think you're losing money because your overhead is greater than 30% a month. So profitable business is something, especially in this kind of market, we all got to talk about.
It ebbs and flows too. Like, your profitability is not going to be the same month over month, quarter over quarter. It depends on your growth goals. It depends on so much, but you literally have to be able to show your team what you're spending money on and where those pieces of their commission are going to help them build their business. And what we have too, which is cool, is we have a progressive commission plan where if you graduate out of our team, you can go off to the solo side. You can still be connected with our organization. You can graduate from our team. We've only done that with a couple people, to be honest with you, but agents want to see that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. You're going to keep an agent for so long, and then they're either going to go this way or that way. And you need to decide, can you create something to keep them? Could you create another avenue to retain them? We own an independent mortgage company and title company too. So we have some leverage there, to keep people around. So if anybody has questions on that or how we do it, you can always reach out. I'm happy to show you exactly what our plans look like.
So Parker, thank you. That's amazing. And that's another big opportunity in teams is like, okay, they're a really successful buyer's agent or listing agent or even administrative person. Like, what's your growth opportunity? You just laid it out. Parker, what can you share how we can find you or your team and what areas you work in case we have referrals for you?
Yeah, we work. So we're in Minneapolis, St. Paul, Twin Cities, potentially the second worst sports teams on the planet compared to you, but
pretty rough here with the Blazers, buddy. It was a rough year.
But yeah, we're in the Twin Cities. We cover a 100-mile radius around it from St. Cloud down to Rochester. And we're in Southwest Florida too, although we don't advertise it, but I'm just about helping agents. Literally, if you reach out to me, I'll give you anything that we have at any point in time, because I owe so much back to the people that helped get me here. So just know that, like, if you are watching this, you can, I would say DM on Facebook. I'm like the last age of a millennial. So Facebook still makes sense to me. Instagram, that makes sense. And the rest of them don't make any sense. So I'd say Facebook. And just thanks for the opportunity on being on here.
Yeah, man, you absolutely crushed it. So yeah, thank you. Thanks to our audience. We are a coaching company. We've got a pretty kick-ass conversion coaching program. Parker's part of that, as well as a lot of the top teams across the country, as well as such individual agents looking to get better. And then we, of course, do one-on-one traditional coaching. So if you're interested, I'm lead genning, just like Parker and I talked about throughout today. So reach out, let us know. And Parker, you slayed it, man.
Craig.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Craig, one last thing, if that's okay.
Yeah,
and Craig did not ask me to say this, but we came into the program at 7% roughly conversion rate on our Zillow Flex team with 60 plus agents on the platform. And we're at 11%. We did 135% to market last month. And can't thank you more. You guys, Mike Shaw, Mike's great. And the rest of your coaches are incredible too. So I promise he did not ask me to say that. I wanted to offer that up. They've helped us a ton. So thanks.
Thanks, buddy. And I mean, it's like two different groups hire us. Like one group is totally screwed and going bankrupt, and we've really had tremendous help with their business. Another group is the Parkers, and it's a smaller group. It's like, hey, we're doing really well. Like we're at 7 or 8% conversion, and we know with a little bit more accountability, or maybe even just our agents hearing it from somebody besides me all day long, can I bring you guys in? So extraordinary results, but we made a great team and a great partnership. So Parker, great job today. Really appreciate it, and thanks, man.
Yeah. See you guys. Thanks, Craig.
Thanks, everybody. Bye. Take care.